Haim Omer,
professor of psychology,
emeritus,
from University of Tel
and many
Aviv,
others.
expert on parenting. Hi, Haim. How are you?
It's more than parenting. Come on.
So please explain us exactly what did you invent? What is your expertise?
Yeah, I have developed a model for helping parents and then also teachers and other people who are responsible for kids, for young people, for children, how to deal with all kinds of behavior problems, from routine daily things up to the most severe things like suicidal behavior, you name it.
I'm sure that all of us who have children will be interested in your ideas, because it never stops. But you always say that to be a parent today is much harder than it used to be.
That's right.
But
much harder.
But
and teachers too.
Why?
But from the kids' point of view, I think it's very hard to be a kid for parents today.
But why don't we start with the parents? Why it became so difficult, more difficult now?
Yeah, but let's start with the parents, okay? It's more difficult for many reasons. First of all, parents are much more isolated today than in the past. Okay, the extended family has disappeared actually. Okay, it was a very influential factor in previous generations, a lot of help. Now it doesn't exist. Even the nuclear family has been split. Okay, the rate of divorce is very, very high. The percentage of single parents is also very high. This is one of the reasons, parental isolation. Then the expectations from parents are much higher than in the past and less clear. Okay, in the past, parents were supposed to bring food to the table and to teach the difference between good and evil. You do that, you are a good parent. Today, the expectations are infinitely higher. Parents are expected to mold the child's character. To give you an idea of how profound this change is, consider the story of Pinocchio. Nobody would think to blame Geppetto for the troubles of Pinocchio. Okay, nobody. Today, everybody will blame today's Geppettos for the trouble of their Pinocchios. Okay, this is an enormous change. Then a third thing is that parents had the possibility to use physical force and, let's say, very tyrannical forms of authority, which we don't want anymore today, which we reject completely today with good reason. And yet, nothing came to replace those things. And perhaps we don't have any sanctions anymore. So all of those things make parenting much, much more difficult than in the past.
So what will substitute? Like today they don't have the tools to develop any parents' authority. We'll talk later about the influence of what's happened in society. School, but for now, just because you mentioned it, so what are the tools that you think about or developed?
I'll tell you what was the clue to my model. Okay, there was a time we all know about it in the late 60s and afterwards, when there was a kind of ideal in rearing children and bringing up children, that children should be brought up in complete freedom, or as much freedom as possible. Authority became a dirty word because it was identified with that kind of authority at once. Okay, so we don't want that anymore. So we might say that this is perhaps the largest educational experiment in the history of education at all. The attempt to rear children without the authority of vote, without authority, because there was this belief that every child is born with a kind of a seed of his own individuality in his soul, and that this seed can only grow, bloom, and flower without constraints, spontaneously, only with love, understanding, encouragement, because constraints would distort this development. Okay, we all knew that song Little Boxes by Pete Seeger. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky. This is the distortion. They become boxes, they become ticky-tacky like this. And we don't want that. So there was this enormous, worldwide experiment in bringing up children without authority. Authority became the problem and not the solution. Well, it failed. It failed badly. Okay, not only we can look around and see that it failed, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of studies showing that children who grow up without limits, demands, constraints of some form, but the real demands and constraints, you can't do this and you have to do this. Okay, children that grow without anybody telling him you must or you cannot grow up badly.
So how you do it? How can you enforce the notion if you don't do that?
The whole question, we cannot do it without authority. And we have rejected the authority of old, which was based on distance and on control over the child and a strict hierarchy. We don't want those anymore.
And some slaps.
So what?
Again,
that we don't want anymore. Okay, we all agree we don't want. We also cannot have them anymore. It's not only we surely don't want, but we cannot. There's no way back to the authority of all.
Haim, what would you
So
say?
the challenge. Wait a minute. I'll finish. So the challenge for me was to define, to characterize a new kind of authority. I called it the new authority, an authority that would give the parents real strength, but not that kind of power that we don't want. So that I developed this concept of the new authority, parental authority, teacher authority, which instead of being based on distance, control of the child and hierarchy, strict hierarchy, should be based on presence, a consistent presence, a decided presence. I am your parent. I'll be there and I'll stay there. You cannot fire me. You cannot divorce me. You cannot get rid of me. Okay, this is presence, decided presence. And instead of controlling the child, you will do what I say. Okay, we help the parents and also teachers to control themselves. Actually, they start saying, I will do what I say because it's my duty, because I can't give up on you, because I love you too much, but it is my duty and I'll do it. That's self-control. There are many things that we developed for building this self-control. And the third thing, instead of that kind of very steep hierarchy, parent at top, teacher on top, and the children underneath, okay, which we don't want, we have developed authority that is based on wide support and legitimization. That means we build a support system for the parents and for the teachers, from grandparents, uncles, aunts, friends, teachers. We create connection so that now the parents will have authority, but it's a completely different kind of authority, which is based on presence, self-control, and support, wide support. They get wide shoulders, broad shoulders. They not only stop saying, you will do what I say, they stop saying, I will do what I say. They start saying, we will do what we say, which is something completely different. That's the way we build this new authority.
So it takes practice. It takes practice. A person has to almost train himself to change because we like control. We sometimes cannot control our temper.
But there is a fine line that over the last maybe 40 years, I think, that parents became friends with their kids and they lose the authority of the parent. They become friendly with the kid. They speak the same language. They hang out
especially
together,
our generation.
and then they bring them back home to help them forever. How do you keep the line between these two, the other one?
If parents, in their attempt to be friends, they stop being parents, then the child okay, will be damaged. There is no doubt, because the child needs a parent. Okay, he needs the parent as parent even more than he needs the parents as friends. Okay, very sure. We're very sure about it. Okay, so that those parents who come to us and say, no, I want to be in exactly the same plane with the child. Okay, we try to say, okay, but maybe your child is missing something, okay, here, because a friend will not give the security, okay, the stability that a parent can give. Okay, a friend cannot give security and stability. Only a parent can give security and stability. So we talk like this to the parents, and it is not only that we propose those principles: presence, self-control, and support. Okay, this broad shoulders. But we have developed ways, and that's what you said, Tzipi, ways actually to train the parents to do that. We offer them concrete steps, concrete procedures, and that's what it is. And the great majority of parents like this. How do we know? We know for sure that the great majority of parents accept those principles, those ideas, and identify with them. We know because we have made many studies on this new authority, okay? And we have shown for a whole series of clinical problems, practical problems like computer abuse, dangerous driving in teens, delinquent behaviors, you name it, okay? School refusal, all kinds. Anxiety problems also, okay? It's very interesting. Anxiety problems, children with anxiety problems.
Yes.
Need
also students.
Parents. They need strong parents. They need parents who give them safety, and not parents who are just like dry winds.
But they go to a psychologist, which is okay, or psychiatrist, and the place of psychologists has actually diminished. And the psychiatrists give you pills, miracle, and some just it's diminished.
So I found in many studies, okay, that this kind of new authority is highly acceptable for parents. We have shown that in all those studies that we have made, the dropout rate of parents from the treatment is the lowest in the whole literature. Okay, wow. Parents stay in those treatments. They don't, and a big difference from other methods. So that actually parents are voting with their feet. They say, we are going to stay here because those things are going to help us. It is possibly this approach of the new authority is probably the only approach in which not only the child is at the center, but both the child and the parents.
Right.
We believe that parents need help no less than the child, and they deserve help. I
believe in it. But, you know, a lot of, if you'll excuse me, I don't know if you see a difference between men and women.
If I see...
I found out the men maybe go less for a treatment like this. Men?
Yeah.
Men, they're less inclined to go and seek advice.
You want that men will be less psychologically minded?
Yeah.
Okay, so we started to check, okay, in our research problem, we started to check what was the percentage of father involvement that we were achieving, okay? So in the beginning, we saw that father involvement was not as good as we thought. Okay, so we started to develop special ways of addressing fathers and of appealing to fathers. And now in the last studies that we have made, those are programs now for children for the parents of children with ADHD, attention deficit disorder, we're getting between 90 and 95% father engagement.
Yeah, but that's something else. ADHD, you know, attention deficit. You cannot say it's because of the father or the mother, right? But if you come and fathers has to change their behavior toward the child, this is where I feel that a lot are more reluctant to go. This is, you tell them about a problem, they don't associate with their behavior, they will come. But not if something associated with the father's behavior or the mother. But
No. Fathers come to get help for themselves as much as mothers. Okay.
Yes.
When fathers, we talk to fathers, we say, look, this program is very concrete, very practical. They like hearing it. This program strengthens parents. You're going to be stronger than you thought you could be possible. Okay, in the past, not strong in this way, but strong in this way. You'll be more grounded, you'll be more anchored, and then more stabilized. And they say, well, that sounds interesting. Practical, concrete, strong, they like this. Okay, so these are ways that we have developed. And let's say that the father says, okay, but I don't believe in psychologists and so on. Say, okay, so we ask you only one thing. Come for the first meeting. And then if you decide to stay out, please, okay, we'll respect you. So that we get them to come to the first meeting. And the great majority stay. Okay, because they see, look, I'm going to gain something also for me,
Right.
for my child, but also for me. So they stay. When we have fathers who say, okay, but okay, I don't need you, my wife, that's her problem, she'll come again. I say, okay, so we'll only ask you, will you allow us to update you after meeting with your wife? We'll send you an update with what we work.
Wonderful.
And sometimes you'll make a modest request. And then they say, yes, we haven't had any father who said, no, don't update me.
Sure
I
not.
don't
They want to have.
So but then they become involved. And then when we have a favor to us and say, so please come to a meeting, one meeting now. So they come. Okay, and we get real engagement from fathers. They are real participants in this because, they have very often become marginalized.
Yes.
Okay, very often. Okay,
Right.
and they are marginal and say, well, I stay out because you don't want to do what I believe in. Okay, but they're also, it's painful being a marginal figure in your own family. So we can help them to demarginalize themselves, and that's how we get higher rates of engagement also by fathers. I mean, active. They become active, and many times we begin the changes with the fathers.
Chaim, what would you say to parents that say our childhood was better? When we grew up, it was different. Yours, you lose the values or the importance of things that we believed in. What would you tell them?
Again, tell me again, what was I'm very hard of hearing.
Parents that would say, your generation is lacking of what my generation had. You don't read enough, you don't know enough, you're too much with screens.
You don't have values.
And what we had was much better, and we're sorry to lose it and to miss it. What would you tell them?
Nostalgia is a very common human feeling, but there is this autobiography by Simone Signoret with the title, Even Nostalgia is No Longer What It Was. So that's we tell okay, it was different. Definitely, there were things. I miss my father very much. Okay, and I miss him. I miss the way he was. Okay, but you cannot live by nostalgia. It can warm sometimes the cockles of
Can't
your
you
heart.
pull out things? Can you pull out things by nostalgia? And
but you carry it with you.
No. And then
when we recognize,
right
there,
okay, the inner warmth that nostalgia gives them, okay, then you are one step forward. I'll tell you, when I start talking about this new authority, we haven't invented it out of nothing. Okay, it is not that we said, well, new authority, let's define it. No. Okay, what was the inspiration for this new authority? And that's how we talk with those nostalgic parents too. All of us have memories of adults, maybe an uncle, maybe a grandfather, maybe a special teacher, who were special.
Mm-hmm.
They had influence, and we respected them deeply. Okay, perhaps much more deeply than our own parents. We all have. And what did they do? How did they do it? Okay, what was the mystery of their influence? So in what I call the new authority, I'm actually trying to characterize what these people did differently. Okay, so that we have those memories. And so I'm appealing even to the nostalgic feelings of those fathers and mothers, and say, this model is developed because there were people like that. We all know them. We have them in our memory. We have them in our minds. And then what am I doing? I'm connecting to those nostalgic feelings, which are valuable. And I'm offering then to create an echo of those experiences in present life. Okay.
So do you have like, I don't know if, so about the new authority, can you give me a notion of like 2-3 steps that a person should take to come out from where he is into the new authority?
Yeah, okay. The first thing is that distance is not a good thing. Marginalization is not a good thing. Laissez-faire is not a good thing when the child shows problems. Okay, there are children who grow up well with laissez-faire. The majority don't. Okay, so instead of being distant and detached, okay, that's the dog. She's a very important part of my life now that the children have
We
left the
have a
house.
dog here too. Now it's rare that it's not there.
Okay, better behaved. Okay, we help parents to regain their presence, to say again, I'm here. You can't get rid of me. How do they do this? Like, for instance, they start to get in touch with people in the child's surroundings, okay? The teachers, the parents of the child's friends. It's important, and we help them so they become more present, and they're able to tell their child, I talked to Mary's mother, and we've decided, we two parents have decided to do this. She has developed a kind of presence in the child's life. Or say a child, okay, an adolescent is disappearing from home at night and never tells the parents where he is. Very common problem today. Okay, vanishing. Okay, so the parent says, look, now we'll see what is this presence. I cannot force you to stay at home. I cannot control you, your legs, your mouth, or definitely your brain. But if you go out, it's in the middle of the week. And if you go out and you don't tell me where you are, then I'll look for you because I cannot give you up. And then we help the parents to look for the children. We have developed procedures. This is presence.
Right.
Then self-control. Okay, parents lose it. Okay, very often because they get into clashes and they flip out. So we have a series of, let's say, principles that parents can implement to regain their self-control. The first one is an interesting one. It's a kind of a mantra. You should strike the iron when it is cold. That means not react in the heat of the moment, but tell the child, look, I can't accept this. I'm going to think about it. And then they come back to the child some hours later or next day. So they are showing the child that they have a memory. They're keeping, and there is a continuity here. So this is self-control.
Yeah, and this is very helpful.
Okay, this idea, you cannot control the child, you can only control yourselves. This is a big change, and they learn to do this. They learn to tell the child, I can't force you to do anything, which is true. Okay, and parents, I can't force you. So parents sometimes, if they are willing to use might, they can force the child to do something now when they are there, but when they are not there, they cannot. Okay, so they can control themselves. Okay, this is a big difference.
Right.
And then we create this network. Okay, they talk to grandfather, they talk to uncle, they talk to the teacher. And grandfather calls the child next day. Hey, I know that you beat up your sister yesterday. How do you know it? How do you know? Your mother told me, but perhaps you forget she is my grandchild as much as you. I love you very much, but I love her no less than you. And I won't put up with a situation in which you beat up or humiliate your sister in front of your friend. And I'll talk to your mother every day and also to your sister to know how this is going. What we are doing, we're backing up. the mother's position. Okay, let's say that this is a divorced family and the mother is alone. Okay, so this is a very strong, we do it in different ways. We create those support systems and children react. Okay, they get angry sometimes. Why did you tell that? And then the mother, this is not only your problem, it's also my problem. So I can talk to my father about my problems as much as I want. Okay, so we are building it. That's how we do it.
But Haim, you know, in today's life, there are so many families that grow without extended families. Many people work long days or beyond. Parents are divorced or one parent is gone, and you have like a team of people that is working with the kids, and it's like it all of a sudden the family becomes helpers, you know, and people you pay for. And how do you navigate with all this group of people that basically replace what we know from the original family?
And we increase the connectedness.
Yeah.
Okay. If we succeed in increasing the connectedness, let's say there is somebody who's taking care of the child, okay, during the day until the mother comes back from work, okay, a nanny or something like that. Okay, or okay, the child is in school most of the day. If this parent who's not there, okay, learns to update herself on what is happening to the child and to update the teacher and the nanny about what is happening, okay, when they are not there. Okay, so next day, child comes back from school and the mother or the father can tell him, you know, today I know that you did very well in math. How do you know? Oh, well, I'm in touch with your teacher now, and we are updating each other.
Wow.
Okay. So they're increasing their presence because they are becoming a we. Okay. It is not only I. The I is an atom. The we is a network.
Right, right.
Haim, what is your take on homework, especially at the early age?
Well, you know, as I said, children grow up better when there are limits and demands than when there aren't. Okay, so if it is possible, say you have to find the right way, okay, the right way for this parent and this child. We don't have a recipe for everyone. We have the principles. So the idea is, can this parent accompany the child who's having difficulties in doing homework? Okay, for instance, a small child, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old. Okay, can one of the parents sit with him for half an hour a day? If not possible, if it is a child with ADHD, 15 minutes a day. But this is a moment of accompaniment, is a moment of presence, is a moment in which something is established.
It's also bonding.
That's right.
But you know, it's bonding,
and there is structure. We are creating structure.
But in many homes, it's the opposite of bonding because it's a play, you know, territory for fights. And I remember when my kids went to school in New York, it was a very progressive Jewish school. So they had much less time at home because they had double curriculum at school. And the principal told us not to help them in certain ways because everything is very progressive and it's nothing like what we do. And I said, why don't you cover homework at school and leave us the little time that we have for us to do what we want to do with the kids? And I always feel that they always leave something for home. And I'm not sure it's really necessary because there are so many other things to do.
It said like 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
But I sat with them for more, but not about homework.
Well, there is another.
You have to find a common language. Yeah. A common language with the school. If you find a common language with the school, you'll be able to play a better role. Okay, so that I listen to what the teacher is telling me, and I say, okay, let's see how I can help in what you're doing. Okay, if we succeed, okay, one of the things that we have demonstrated that we achieve with the new authority is improving teacher-parent communication. Okay, we give lessons in teacher-parent diplomacy, both for parents and for teachers. We do it in schools. Teachers learn ways of addressing parents because teachers many times are against the wall by parental criticism, and the contrary. So if we create this common language, it takes an effort, and you have to understand that this is important. So that something that is done in collaboration between the teacher and the parent is worth double, because it is like a choir in the child. I talked to your teacher and we decided that those things you should do only at school. Yeah, but I also want to have a say, a small one,
Right.
okay, in your education. And let us say we do this together. What do you say? So, okay, we are creating
And
a
we
common
negotiate.
denominator.
Everything
Yeah.
is
But
negotiable.
we don't have much time, but so maybe I will ask you to come back, because there is now, because I know that you dealt with post-trauma.
Yeah.
Of now, but this is something I'm really interested in. But what about children that the parents divorced?
Yeah.
Do you think this event, for most kids, the reaction is into the category of post-trauma?
I think that the word trauma, the concept of trauma, is used
Too much.
in ways that are
Right.
crazy. Okay, everything becomes a trauma.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so that it's not. There are traumatic experiences, the damaging traumatic experience, but I only think that real massive things should be considered like that. You take a divorce. Divorce is a difficult experience for every child, okay? Absolutely no doubt about it. Difficult experience. And okay, and now, if it is a violent divorce, it is not worse. Okay, if there is complete disconnection between the parents, it is worse. If there is also blaming afterwards, it is also, so the damage keeps growing. Okay, so that divorce in itself is painful, but will not be a trauma. A trauma may be created if it is really an explosion, violence, and disconnection. Then you have a progressive, okay, an accumulation of factors. But I did a lot of work with trauma. Okay, actually, the start of my career, I began
Yes.
my career with developing a model for dealing with battle trauma. Okay, in the army.
Right.
I devised the first guidelines for battle trauma in the Israeli army. This was after the Yom Kippur War. Okay, so that also the knowledge that we have about battle trauma is that if you keep the soldier close to his pals, to his unit, with bonds to his unit, if you don't disconnect him completely from the situation, you get much better recovery, much less risk of post-traumatic syndrome. Okay, so the idea that no, he has a post-traumatic syndrome, he has to be taken out from any connection with the army and the war. This is a very bad idea. Okay, so that connection, increasing connection, okay, keeping the child involved, it's very, very important. And so that if we can succeed in reducing, okay, the heat of these divorce,
Right.
then we won't have a trauma. We will have a difficult experience that can be mastered, and sometimes can also, okay, there is a concept, a very important concept, which is called post-traumatic growth.
Right.
It turns out, it started with people who got cancer. Okay, it turns out that quite a big proportion of people who got cancer, okay, feel, and it has also been documented objectively, that the bout with cancer was positive in their lives. Okay, so trauma, everything is trauma. Okay, so we are a trauma-obsessed society. We have become, and we use it everywhere now.
Yeah, I agree with you. But it's also, a question of, you talk now about cancer, it's also gaining perspective. And if you can give even a perspective to a child, perspective can help, I think. But I don't envy you, because I think, No,
Okay.
because you encounter, especially now. It's much more difficult now with all the violence around.
Difficult what? Difficult to do
Much
what?
more violence around us, much more fear, especially
Well,
now with the new
okay.
government. I don't want
Okay, so then I have more. So then I have more parnose. Okay,
Yeah,
the
no,
more
yeah, but
difficulties
I
there
don't know
is.
if it's not more difficult to solve because so many things we don't have control, like what's happening in the country, what's happening with violence on the streets, what's happened, the way parliament members are talking. The
No,
food
we
that
can't
they get.
control. We can't control.
We
We can
can
improve.
We
We
can.
can control.
We
We
can.
can improve. Okay, we can do what I call. We can increase our vigilant care. Okay, that our ability to keep a finger on the pulse and ear to the ground. This is the mental presence with the child and accompaniment. Okay, in Hebrew, there is a word, ashgacha. Ashgacha means
Right.
both providence, okay, providence, you're looking at what is going to help, and also kind of an accompaniment, but it's no control. Okay, it's no control. It's also already in the Talmud is written. Okay, the man, okay, the human being has free choice, but there is an ashgacha. There is this providence, and this idea of providence that the parents can accompany, even a mental accompaniment of the child, reduces risk of all kinds. We have shown that it reduces risk of all kinds. We have a number of studies on this ashgacha, on this vigilant care. And it reduces risk of accidents, risk of violence, risk of delinquents, risk of bad companions, bad friends, risk of drugs, risk of suicide. I'm now writing a book on the prevention of suicide.
Yeah, right.
Risk of computer abuse. We have succeeded with this model to reduce computer abuse very significantly. Okay, so that is the kind of attitude that we try to develop. Okay, this ashgacha is actually a manifestation.
So these are the steps to acquire or get this notion of ashgacha is what you were talking the steps before, like not being detached, like.
Well, ashgacha is actually it's a manifestation of presence. Okay, I become presence in the child's mind. If I'm present, if I get the child to think about me because he knows I'm thinking about him,
okay,
then we have reduction of risk. I'll tell you how we do this. For instance, I did it with driving teens. Okay, when we have just received a driving permit. Okay, the dangerous drivers, the boys, the girls are not. Okay, so research is very clear. Only the boys are dangerous drivers. Okay, girls make little accidents that cost a little but the boys are the dangerous. So we have a program, okay, for helping parents conduct this ashgacha, this finger on the pulse. So the idea is, how can I get to the mind of my child? Okay, so the child is getting the family car to go to a party on Friday evening. We all know that the adolescents are out driving Friday evenings in Israel, dangerous. So the mother comes to the child, this teen, and she says, "Oh, here is the keys to the car. But I have a small favor to ask from you." "What is it, Mom? I'm already late." It's very small. "I want you to send me a WhatsApp once you get to the party, and another WhatsApp just before midnight so that I can go to sleep. And if you do that, please take the keys to the car." And we convince parents that this is really a very modest request. Okay, she's giving the car and she's asking for 2 WhatsApp, 2 words. Everything okay? That's it. Now, let's say that the child says, "Oh, Mom, I don't know, I'll be busy." Then comes the father, and the father tells us, "Look, if your mother doesn't sleep, I don't sleep too." So you send, okay? So you send that WhatsApp, okay? So that we get this. We get 95% of the children sent those WhatsApps when we have demonstrated objectively that there was much less driving danger. We came and published this study.
Amazing.
Okay, so
amazing.
this is the ashgacha. This is this presence, mental presence, an accompaniment.
Right.
There is a story in the Midrash. Okay, the Midrash is a part of the Talmud, okay, collection of stories of the rabbis of old. I'm talking about second to 6th century AD, okay, very old story. So there's a story about, they ask the question, how did Joseph in the Bible, who was being seduced by Potiphar's wife, okay, how could he resist the temptation? And they ask, okay, the fathers, okay, the wise fathers of the town, they ask, how could Joseph, in the strength of his manhood, that's how, in the strength of his manhood, and we can imagine his situation, what is the strength of his manhood? How could he stand up to the temptation? And the answer is, because the countenance of his father appeared to him. The face of his father appeared to him. Jacob, who I hadn't seen for 15 years, this appeared to him. That was it. This is the mental accompaniment. You see, old ideas, not new ideas. We are giving them a new, new garments. That's what we are doing. We are adapting them to situations like driving and computer reviews.
Haim, you need to go.
Wonderful.
And
yeah, you need to go.
We'll meet you again for more.
Thank
you.
Okay.
I want to thank you so much, right? And thank you, Tzili.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody who came. And you
Welcome
really covered a
back.
lot and you opened my eyes.
And see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.